Hello, Oracles. Tesla stock is plummeting early. Is Elon selling his shares today? Judging by where we are at the time of this recording, we are already at 25 million shares trading hands and we are down 7%. So we also have news coming out of China that they have cut prices, so we'll discuss some of that right now. Sorry for the delay in the video this morning. I got in at 3 o'clock in the morning after watching the Yankees game with my son last night. They lost. It was a great time, totally worth it, but I'm now recovering here, and then I wake up to a lot of drama and news all about the prices being cut over in China. The 10Q is out, so I wanted to make sure I went through that before I got into the video today. So lots of information and a lot of drama that is going on, so we're going to decipher a lot of this and what it means for the stock going forward. So looking at what we have for the prices right now. So Troy Teslake broke this all down. Looks like Tesla has dropped the prices about 5% for both the Performance Model 3 and the Standard Range Model 3, and 5% for the Model Y Performance. It dropped 9.4% for the Model Y Long Range and 8.8% for the Model Y Standard Range. So these prices are all coming down. They have a few vehicles that were not qualifying for what they have for basically their EV tax credits over in China. So they dropped those accordingly. So of course, with all of this, this explains why there was a lot of demand being delayed over in China, because of the fact that, they saw potentially this coming. Sure enough, here it is. A lot of speculation as to why Tesla had waited to do it now. Could be because of the earnings call. That's what Troy Teslake thinks. So either way, this is now where we're at. The prices are coming down. So of course, the market is selling up because the market wants to see prices going up. The market wants to see that going up because usually prices going up means more profits to the bottom line. When you bring your prices down, that is less money to the bottom line. But as Gary Blackhead mentioned, back in 2020, Tesla had dropped the prices of the Model 3. So when they dropped the prices of the Model 3, orders actually went up, and their stock price went up 699% since then. And Gary also sees that the increase in demand from this price drop will actually increase EPS by 5 cents. So when it comes to this price drop here, we're going to see something similar. Now you have to remember that Elon had mentioned that he thinks the prices of their vehicles are embarrassingly high. Their whole entire goal has been to lower the cost of their vehicles so that they can lower the price of their vehicles. And Tesla even mentioned the cost reduction efforts over in China in part of their 10Q, discussing how this is what they want to do. They're looking to reduce the costs, and this has allowed them to bring down the prices over in China. Now they also did mention that over in China, they are doing other things to incentivize people to be able to get them, bring sales back up and brand awareness over there. So this is something that they're not doing anywhere else in the world, but we do know that there's a lot more EV competition over in China than we do see in the US and other parts of the world. So this is something that they're doing over there. We know that they do advertise a little bit over in China, and so this is something that they're looking to push over there. But I think this is going to be a market that is going to teach Tesla how to be able to handle the rest of the world as well as we move forward in the EV revolution. And he did say that when you lower the price of your vehicles, it's not a direct correlation. Not like if you drop your price 10%, the volume of your sales are going to go up by 10%. No, when you drop your price of vehicles by 10%, the volume of sales is going to go up exponentially. The initial reaction is going to be a lowering of sales. So that's because when you see the price is going to be potentially coming down, people will wait until that price actually comes down. This is something we've talked about on this channel all year long about price drops coming, where you will initially see that drop, where it's counterintuitive because you would think price coming down, demand would go up, and it will, but the initial reaction is going to be the opposite. But with news that we had gotten over there, because of the fact that they dropped the prices on this, the sales ordering page over at Tesla in China crashed because there were so many people who were trying to place their orders for fear that they might actually go back up on the prices at some point. So we are going to see this demand picking up significantly. This is exactly what Tesla had wanted, and they just had to do it carefully along the way because they have to make sure that they can handle all of the different reactions. And I wonder if personally, now again, this is just my opinion, wondering if maybe they initially dropped that rumor intentionally just so they could get some of the reaction, so they can understand what the reaction of the true price drop was going to be when it comes to the actual drop, which they just did. So I wonder if they did that just to get a feel for how the reaction was going to be. Sometimes human emotion and human reaction is a bottleneck that you just cannot predict. So Elon can predict bottlenecks when it comes to lithium and other different supply chain issues that are going on. But when it comes to human emotion and human reaction, that could be unpredictable. So perhaps they dropped that little bit of information just so they can get an inkling and information on how that was going to be as a reaction. And now we have seen it, so we have seen that reaction happening. I have no doubt we're going to see this globally around the world. Prices of all the vehicles over in China are significantly lower than the prices of their vehicles all around the world. So I have no doubt we will end up seeing the prices of the vehicles around the world coming down. Again, this is what Elon has wanted. This is exactly what their goal is. They are lowering the costs of their vehicles, they're lowering the costs of production, and as they do so, they can lower the price of the vehicles. So now when it comes to this again, as far as competition goes, don't forget, Tesla is making 30% margins on its vehicles when it comes to Shanghai and Fremont alone. Austin and Berlin will end up getting there within the next year most likely. So 30% margin cushion with the EV tax credit coming in the US next year gives such a massive advantage to Tesla, whereas competition, basically their EV margin is going to be based upon the EV tax credit in the US next year. And that's it. They are not making any money on their vehicles outside of that. So Tesla has the ability to come down on the prices and make them at a range where, they're going to be more affordable for people. People are going to choose Tesla over all their competition. And then competition is going to have to in turn lower their prices to try and entice more people to come in and take a bigger hit on their vehicles and lose even more money. So this is where we are looking right now when it comes to lowering of the prices. I personally think this is a good thing. This is the place where Tesla has been trying to go anyway. So this is not bad, but there's been a lot of drama going on around this in the Twitter sphere. Mainstream media is pushing it out there. So other reasons why Tesla stock could be dropping today is the fact that over in China, they have just elected President Xi for the third term. And the market does not like this. The market does not want to see him over there. They would prefer that he not be over there. It's detrimental to tech stocks. NIO down about 10% at the time of this recording as well. That is the only Chinese stock that I have. But just seeing all of this pulling down, there's two things that are in relation, both between the situation that's going on over in China. They also came out with their GDP numbers, and their GDP growth was up 3.9% over last year. But at this point in the year, they were looking to be at 5.5%, and year to date, they are at 3%. So they are not in the place that they wanted to be as far as growing their economy, but it is still growing, just not as fast as they had wanted it to. But of course, the COVID lockdowns definitely put a lot on that. And I think the market is frowning upon that because of the fact that President Xi is the one who has been very restrictive over there. And so we don't want to see that. So that could affect a lot of the Tesla stock as well. So we're continuing to drop, now at down 5%. So I will be getting off of this video shortly and adding more to my position. And of course, the biggest seller we could potentially have this week is Elon. Judging by the charts this morning, I know Mike Shorts over on Twitter and I were discussing. I personally didn't know because of pre-market movements whether this was going to be Elon selling, but it definitely seems based upon how much volume is already coming in, Elon is most likely selling shares right now. So as Gary Black had mentioned, that we have seen prices get cut over in China and the market did not react like this to it. So this has got to be something on top of the China prices being dropped. So most likely it is Elon selling. We will find out later with the Form 4 filings. Elon has 48 hours to file those Form 4s, and judging by what Farzad had mentioned last week when he was working over at Tesla, seems like it was the Monday after the earnings calls when that window opened up again for them to be able to sell and trade shares. And so with Elon most likely selling shares today, that would mean that this Twitter overhang has been lifted if this isn't what is happening right now. So this could also guarantee that Elon is buying Twitter, so this would answer that question. So whether they're actually going to get to the court date this Friday or not, or if they've come up with a deal before then, we will find out hopefully this week as well. But if Elon has sold all the shares he needs to today, maybe between today and tomorrow, I don't know if he's going to do it in a one-day stint. But we will see what's going to happen. As Gary Black had mentioned before, this is just a 1% float that is going on. So he thought we would only see a 2% movement in the stock. Clearly, that is a lot more than that if this is indeed the case of Elon selling. And so if Gary Black's figures are correct and Elon has $5 billion left that he needs to raise for the Twitter deal, that would mean 25 million shares need to be sold by Elon to come up with that money based upon a $200 stock price. And now we just continue to bounce around that $200 level. So we're finding a very strong support there. So we're balancing there. So again, if Elon is selling, we will find out for sure in those Form 4 filings. And for me, I love buying Elon shares if indeed he is selling. You guys can let me know in the comments below if you think he is selling shares today. But either way, once we get the answers to that, we will end up having buyers coming back in. And then I think timing-wise at that point, we're going to have the next interest rates going up. Looks like the FOMC, looks like the Fed's going to be raising those rates by 75 basis points. That's pretty much guaranteed. And then a week after that, we're going to have the midterm elections. So once those two things are completed, we will be past the Twitter overhang, we'll be past some of the big macro questions that we have going on at the moment. And then Tesla can come out in the second half of November with positive news, new Gigafactory openings. Hey, here's the order page for the Cybertruck. You know, a lot of good stuff I think we're going to have going through the rest of Q4. But in the meantime, at least for the next week and a half, it could be a very rocky road and very ugly. And one of the things I recognized from the game last night was hecklers. Lots of hecklers. My son and I were in the bleachers for the first time, and if anybody has been to a Yankees game where you're in the bleachers, it's a totally different world than being anywhere else in that stadium. It's just like the whole bleacher area is just full of hecklers. But as we were watching the game, the more the Yankees were doing well, the stronger the hecklers were. As soon as the Astros came back and tied the game up, they shut up. This is what Tesla Q is doing and what they're all about. I have seen some Tesla bulls doing the same thing, so it's, we're guilty on both sides, but Tesla Q right now is at a point where their team is winning and they are being extremely loud about it. We have recognized this all over the place, and all they need to do is continue to do this. We have even gotten to the point where we saw some dissension in the ranks. Troy Teslake and Rob Maurer, two of my favorite people to follow when it comes to Tesla. Troy had blocked Rob, he unblocked him. That drama is hopefully clearing itself up, but this is where we're at right now. There's a lot of high tensions going on in the Tesla community. We just need to keep it together, folks. Right now, we are all in this together. We are on the same path, on the same team, fighting for the same mission that everybody else is. So do not let Tesla Q heckle your way into being upset and really just getting to your emotions. That is exactly what their goal is to get to your emotions and get that emotional reaction from you. So keep yourself out of this. Focus on the mission. All of this stuff right now, near-term drama. It's all this tiny minutia that really does not mean anything in the long term. Focus long term. As Tesla economists had mentioned, look at what we're looking at long term. We're looking at 1,000 kilowatt hours of battery production for the future. We are heading towards a much larger place than we are at right now. So any of the little stuff that is going on are blips on the radar. Troy Teslake saying that we may have lost 10,000 sales over in China. 10,000 deliveries is going to be a small drop in the bucket compared to the larger picture down the road. So yes, maybe it's going to affect Q4 numbers. We won't know that until we get to the end of Q4, but either way, it is only Q4 numbers. That number is going to be such a small amount. In the future, that is just going to be a fraction of a daily delivery number that we are getting out of Tesla. So small numbers to pay attention to right now that are going on. So let's not focus on that. Let's focus on the long-term mission and not just be arguing with each other because of this. Tensions are high. Again, focus long term. And now with that said, I will be having Farzad on the channel tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. Eastern time. We are going to be discussing a lot of that. We're going to be discussing a lot of the demand over in China. We're going to be discussing the price drops, logistics in China, cost cutting, a lot of the different things that Farzad saw when he was working over at Tesla. So we'll get to discuss a lot of that and his feelings on this going forward and lots of other things as well. So you guys can let me know in the comments below anything you guys want to ask him. So we'll be on for probably about an hour, and just as usual, I'll be going through all the comments with you guys to have our discussions and you guys can ask on the fly. So what I'm going to be paying attention to in the charts today is that $200 level. Again, we had mentioned it last week where we have bounced off of it 2, maybe 3 times right now, depending on how you're looking at the charts and how you want to judge it and how close we were. But that third bounce is going to determine whether we bounce off and come back up or if we're going to break through and fall lower. So again, nobody knows what's going to happen with all the drama we have going on this week, especially now with the prices getting cut over in China and the drama coming out of that. We might see us breaking that $200 level. Again, we're bouncing down. I've been watching this as we're recording this, and we keep on pulling down that $202 level and then coming back up. So we keep on bouncing. We will pay attention to this closely as the week goes on. Personally, in my opinion, if we drop below it, I am going to be adding heavier. Remember, look long term. Look at least 2025. When we get to that point in 2025, I think we are going to be at a point where we're hitting over $1,000 in the stock price. So regardless of whether we go up from here or whether we pull down even further, I still think we are going to be hitting that $1,000 stock price. If we get to that point at $1,000, the return on your investment will just be larger the more we pull back. I know not everyone has dry powder left to add to their stock portfolio. I do, some of you do. If you don't, you just ride it through. If you can sell something in your house and buy more Tesla stock and you want to, not financial advice, but go ahead and do it. I think these are going to be the times we look back at and say, I wish we had bought more during that peak FUD and peak drama that was going on. And so I'd mentioned before that the catalyst that could drive us below that $200 level would be Elon selling. So if he is indeed selling today and we keep holding up strong at that $200 level, that could bode well for the future and we may not fall below that. Still have the rest of the day to go, so we will monitor this. We'll see if he did indeed sell today. So we're going to follow this, pay attention to it. Again, the gap below here is 187, and if we do break below 200, we have a strong support at 191, so we may hit 191, fill that gap, and balance there. Just things to pay attention to, and we will discuss that later tonight. Let me know in the comments below, how do you guys feel about the price drops coming in China? Do you think we are going to see them globally as well? And how do you think this is going to affect demand going forward? Do you think this is going to affect demand in a massive way, and we're going to get even more demand coming out of China? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Thank you all so much for watching. I appreciate all of your support and feedback. If you have not subscribed, please do so down below. Sign yourself up for notifications. I am over on Twitter at OracleTim1. I share all of the latest Tesla news, pertinent stock market information, and all of my daily trades. We do have a Discord chat. That link is down in the description. And if you'd like to support the channel any further, we do have a membership program and a Patreon. Those links are also both in the description. Thank you so much. Have a great one.